Kick and chase by Mullins. Kick and chase again by Mullins. It'll be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
Hunter's kick is over the sideline for a 40-20.
Yeah, g'day champions and welcome to 40-20 Sports. Round 0 teams have announced. Team list Tuesday is finally back and we're on. How good's this? We've got the Las Vegas teams. Their teams are in. Super exciting. There's some big names who've missed out. There's a good couple of names that have got in as well. So we're super excited to talk about them today. Just before we get into it, we do have a league code that I want to get out there, 726638. We're just going to run with that for the year. We do have a bit of a merch pack to give away for that. We've got shirts, stickers, hats, stubby coolers, that sort of stuff to give away for the winner of that. We'll be doing weekly updates on that on our Instagram account as well. So if you haven't, please follow us on 4020 Sports on Instagram. That'd be awesome. We won't talk about that too much though. We'll get straight into it. We're going to start with the Sea Eagles and Rabbitohs game. So from the Sea Eagles, the back five is pretty much how we expected it. We've got Tom Trbojevic, Jason Saab, and Jackson Paulo on the wings. Talatau Kula and Ruben Garrick in the centres. Now, Garrick in the centres, I think, hurts him a little bit. I think the couple of games that he played there last year, he was a bit underwhelming with his performances in Supercoach. So he'll still have the goal kicking. He'll still be an awesome opportunity to get, I think, maybe in the later rounds. Possibly over that origin period, we'll be looking for him. Maybe he takes a couple of weeks to find his footing in this centre position, and then hopefully around origin time, if he drops down around 500, even early 600k, we'll be looking to pick him up at that. Other than that, Jackson Paulo played really well in the trials, but I think he's a little bit overpriced going into a new side. He was pretty good at the Chookies last year, so we'll just have to see what goes on with him. The halves, as expected, Luke Brooks and Chaz Daly Cherry Evans. Again, I'm going with Luke Brooks as my starting 5'8". Last 3 years, no average under 50 for the entire year. I'm big on him. I think his output in defence, he'll be really not concerned about his defence, but he'll be trying to harness his defence. Got a lot of pressure taken off him this year. He's got a decent left edge there. He worked well with Ben Trbojevic in the trials, so one to watch there. Also, he's got the Ferrari out the back. He's got Tommy Turbo out the back. So Tommy likes to sweep to the left. He could pick up some really interesting and really cheap, lazy points by just giving Tom Trbojevic the ball. Cherry Evans, for those going him, I think he might be a little bit overpriced due to the back end of the year where he absolutely caned a couple of lowly teams. So I can't go against him. I think he's a fantastic buy. Just better options, I think, with going the two guns. Front rowers, Taniela Paseka and Josh Aloe. I am pretty keen on Paseka. I was pretty keen on Paseka last year. I had him in my draft. Never scored, he did, but he never scored under 50, never got over 60 sort of thing. He was as safe as houses. It's actually interesting when you have a look at doing draft, you sort of notice that a lot of these front row forwards, they seem to score around about the same points as everyone else. So Taniela Paseka, I think he's a good buy. There is probably better value there with Ruben Cotter around the same price. But yeah, if someone wanted to go Taniela Paseka, I couldn't talk you out of it. Lachlan Croker, he's in the 9. We've got Ola Kawadu and Ben Trbojevic. Ben Trbojevic is the big one there. We all sort of knew he was going to get that starting role. Fingers crossed he can have a massive couple of games and try and push Schuster out to a bench spot where we'll see some good price rises out of Ben Trbojevic. I have him, but I do not have him in my starting 17. I'm a bit worried about the hype from the trials. People are going to start thinking, he's going to get 60s and 70s. He doesn't have that proven in his Supercoach game. He's more of a 40-point man, if that, in 80-minute games. Whether he plays 80-minute games, I think he will, but yet to be seen. He still could pump out, a 60 to 65-minute game. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm just a little bit nervous around his minutes and his output to start him in my 17 to start with. Jake Trbojevic gets the lock spot there. We all knew that was coming. I was actually hoping, now that Nathan Brown has been added to Supercoach, he's pretty well priced at 340k. I was hoping Nathan Brown would get that lock spot. Tofafai Sipley is out. I was hoping that Jakey was going to move up into the front row and Nathan Brown into the 13, but not to be. Our interchange there, Carl Lawton, Corey Waddell, Ethan Bullimore, and Nathan Brown. It's a reasonably light on bench as opposed to front row forwards. Could be good minutes for Paseka and Josh Alloway, but I'm still not too keen on Josh Alloway. But I think Taniela Paseka, he could get some decent minutes if that's the case. You know, Bullimore, Carl Lawton, he'll come in at number 9 for Lachlan Croker. Corey Waddell, he's more of a back rower. So, yeah, I'm not too sure where they're going to figure out all their minutes. Maybe Jakey might get a few more. He might go from lock into the front row. So, yeah, not sure about that one. We'll move on to the Rabbits. We've got Latrell Mitchell, Alex Johnson, Isaiah Tass, Richie Kenner, and Jacob Gagai. Very light on, apart from Latrell Mitchell in the back 5, I think. Alex Johnson's a gun. We know he can score points. If you're going to go down that avenue, I'm just a little bit sceptical on him. His base is really low. He can score games out of nothing, but I think the start of the year, teams will be really worried about their defence. So I'm probably going to steer clear of Alex Johnson. The centres, Isaiah Tassi had a good year last year, but again, I can't see myself starting with him. His prospects might have grown a little bit now that Campbell Graham is out for 20 weeks or something like that. But I think they'll make Jack White and they'll make him the prime guy that they go to on the edges instead of Isaiah Tass. You got Richie Kenner. I wouldn't be going anywhere near Richie Kenner. His spot is very, very up in the air with Jackie Whiten coming back. And Jacob Gagai. Now, Jacob Gagai is $200K. He's bottom dollar. I can understand people wanting to go him. At the start of the year, I'm going to have a miss from him. The issue is that he is bottom dollar and his job security is probably as poor out of those any back 4 as anyone. Now, if Jacob Gagai gets 2 games and then all of a sudden we get another person come in on that wing spot, I don't know how long Tyrone Munro is out with that ankle injury, but he will slide straight into that position, you would think. They could also Jack White and come back in round 3 and Richie Kenner go out to that wing spot. Richie Kenner played a lot more first grade than Jacob Gagai has. He's debuting Gagai. I'm a bit worried about him getting to game 3 and not being in the squad, and then you're stuck with a player that is $200K sitting on your bench. So I'm going to avoid him. Being cheap and bottom dollar, we can always go down to him if we need to. If one of these guys on your bench, CTWs, isn't performing, we can always go down to him and buy him quite easily. In the halves, Cody Walker and Lachlan Ilias. I'm not going to badmouth Cody Walker because every time I seem to do it, he seems to pull out 150 game plus. But he is coming off an injury. He hasn't trialled. He could be a little bit rusty. Nothing against him. It's just purely the fact that he hasn't trialled. I know he probably doesn't need to, but it will be interesting to see how he goes later on in the game. 80 minutes. It's going to be high intensity at Allegiant Stadium. Excuse me. Just a bit worried about how he's going to go towards the back end of the games. But again, proven gun in that position. So if you were going to go there, can't talk you out of it. The front row is Tavita Totola, Damien Cook in the 9, and Sean Keppie. Now, I have Sean Keppie in my squad. The bench is a little bit worrying with the 4-forward rotation, but you've got Havili, Host, Mawali, and Tommy Burgess on the bench there. In saying that, I don't think that hurts Sean Keppie as much as it'll hurt others. I'll go into that. The only people that are going to chew into his minutes are Davey Mawali, who is known to not get a lot of minutes. He might come in and only get 30 to 35, and Tommy Burgess will run on as well. He'll take one of their spots as well. Demetrius came out and said, the coach of the Rabbits came out and said he is so impressed with Sean Keppie after that Charity Shield match. Charity Shield, he played 40 to 45 minutes, I think maybe even a little bit less than 40 minutes. Scored upwards of nearly 50 Supercoach points. He had a fucking blinder. The coach can't talk high enough of him. I am hoping that he gets a good chunk of minutes out of that forward rotation. He is still young as well. I didn't realise, but Sean Keppie, he's only 24 or 25 or something, so he's still a young fella. Starting to get into the prime years of his forward, of being a front row forward. I think he'll probably get a lot more minutes than Davey Mawali and Tommy Burgess will, so I'm not too fussed on Jacob Host and Havili being on the bench for that. If you were going to go Tavita Totola, I was really keen on him at the start of the year, but I think Sean Keppie, now that he's got that other bloke there in the front row forward that seems to want to push for a bit of a dominant player in the pack, I can still see a strong case for Totola. I think he'll play nearly 50 minutes a game, but if you were going to go with him or away from him, can't talk you out of it. The back row, Keon Kaloamatangi and Jai Arrow. Jai Arrow is a really interesting one, although the worry is Jacob Host on the bench for him. Jai Arrow looked good in the Charity Shield match. I think he'll get more minutes than what he did in that, being on the edge for the second row, Looked good. I think if you were going to pick him up, you would pick him up in front row forward, not 2RF. Being that dual really helps him as well. If he plays any more than 60 to 70 minutes, I think you'll see people trying to pick him up, and he could average that 50 to 55 at a reasonably priced. He's a mid 400k guy. The big one that is worrying me about this bench is a guy that I've picked to start the year, Cam Murray. I picked him based on Peter Mamazelis getting picked, hoping that it was only a 3-forward rotation and the hooker was going to come in and out for Damien Cook. Everyone knows that Havili is such an integral part of this South Sydney Rabbitohs team, where he comes on and relieves Cameron Murray of minutes, but he also can slide into that hooker role if something happens to Cookie. Now, I think that limits Cam Murray's minutes back down to what he was averaging last year, which was about 65. I was hoping Havili wasn't there. Peter Mamazelis comes in, and then Cameron Murray could have looked like a 70 to 75 minute player. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. The big one there is the 18th man for the Rabbitohs, Tallis Duncan. People had him penciled in for a round one spot, starting in the starting side. Jai Arrow seems to have taken that spot. I wouldn't be starting with Tallis Duncan now, obviously. He will be one to watch throughout the season. There'll be injuries, there'll be origin periods. Hopefully there is an opportunity for him to apply his trade, and we see him have a good run at it, because I think he will be an out-and-out gun throughout the year. Just whether he can land a starting spot, or even if he comes off the bench, get some decent minutes like we saw last year, he could be a bit of a game changer. All right, we've got the Roosters and the Donkeys. We are running that as our second game for our Vegas team. The back five, pretty obvious now that Dom Young is out for the Roosters. We've got Tedesco at fullback, Daniel Tupu and Joey Suwali on the sting, Billy Smith and Joey Manu. They are wrapping up our centres. These guys, there's not a lot of value there. I want to watch Teddy in this one because he looked a little bit clunky in the trial games. Now, Teddy last year, it was super obvious to see what was going on. He was overplaying his hand, wanted to get super involved with everything. I'm hoping this year he can just take a bit of a backward step, figure out his ball playing, get that right again, and the Roosters will be a force. I'm picking them to come second or third around that mark. If they can sort all their stuff out, and they can sort of they need to stay healthy. They were super injury prone over the last couple of years, but I really want to see Teddy excel. Like, I love Teddy. He's a superstar of our game. I'd love for him to come back and prove everyone wrong. I'm not going to be running with him. I've seen a few teams that have got him. I hope he fucking tons up every single week. But yeah, I'd be a nervous watching him if I'm an owner, rather than not owning him, I think. In the halves, we've got Luke Keary and Sam Walker. Another one to watch, Sammy Walker. A couple of people are high on him. I think he will brain it this year. He spent a lot of time in reserve grade New South Wales Cup last year. A lot of it wasn't planned, though. If you're looking back on his games and you're watching how many games he's played in New South Wales Cup, sort of scratch that a little bit, because he did get injured and he couldn't find his way back into the first grade team, basically due to injury. You know, a bit sad to see for the young kid to get dropped. You know, we thought, this is going to be another Kyle Flanagan from the Roosters, but hopefully they stick it out with him. He's going to be a superstar of the future, and I rate him highly. All right, we got into the forwards. Spencer Leniu, Brandon Smith and Lindsay Collins wrap up the front row. Spencer Leniu getting a start is massive news. I would have presumed that he came off the bench. Doesn't look to be. Whether he gets those big minutes at front row, or Trent Robinson is just looking for a massive amount of impact straight out the gate. This is a huge game for anyone. This is going to be like semi-final football. The boys are going to be amped up. There's so much hype around this Vegas game. I wonder if Trent Robinson's just thrown him in the deep end to start because he wants to be super aggressive at the start, and hopefully Spencer Leniu lays a platform. If he plays any more than 40, 45 minutes, he'll be an awesome buy for players. I'm just unsure how that all works out especially with Jared Wera-Hargraves to come back into the fold there. Brendan Smith at 9. A couple of people are running with him at hooker. See a bit of value there, but there is Sandon Smith on the bench. People were thinking maybe Connor Watson would get that. So did I, but Smith is there. The two Smiths, actually, they're going to be interchanging. Again, be interesting to see how they go with that minutes. I don't think Brandon Smith will do what he was doing last year or at the Storm, sort of going from a hooker role into a lock position. They seem to be pretty stacked in that position this year, so he could be an out-and-out hooker this year. Just one to watch. The back row for the Roosters is massive. We've got Sua Wong and Satili Tupanua. I didn't really see Satili Tupanua getting that second row spot. And after the trials, I didn't really see Sua Wong getting that spot either. But that's huge news for Supercoach owners. The big thing with that is, I love Sua Wong and Satili Tupanua. I think they're amazing players, amazing Supercoach players. The bench of Nat Butcher coming on, I would have bet my house on it that Nat Butcher was starting on an edge. I don't know how he hasn't got the nod to start on an edge. He was phenomenal there last year. He was probably one of their best forwards. Whose minutes does he eat into? Now, I talked a bit about this on my round 1 team reveal. If you go a guy like I'm running with Cam Murray, I'm going to stick with that. You've got that guy there that's worth 600k. If you have that in every position, it's sort of a safety net because these guys, Sua Wong and Tupanua, if Wong comes on and plays 50 minutes, he's not really worth his money. If Tupanua comes out and plays 45, 50 minutes as well, he's not really worth the money either. One of them, I think, is going to get 80 minutes. I have no fucking idea who. But if you have a Cam Murray, let's say Cam Murray doesn't get those minutes. He goes down to 60 minutes, 65 minutes. He's not producing that well. Sua Wong is getting 80 minutes, scoring the house down. You can grab Cam Murray, flick him out, pick Sua Wong, and you're home and hosed, and it's a safe bet. If you start the year with Sua Wong, I'm not against it. I think he's an out-and-out gun. He's a superstar of the game. He's got a massive future ahead of him. But what happens if Wong only plays 50 minutes? He's probably not Supercoach relevant. He's not going to get attacking stats every single game. I'm huge on him. I think his percentage of ownership will rise. So will Tupanua's. It can only get better from here. I'm just nervous about which one Nat Butcher is going to take the time off. Anyway, at the 13, Victor Radley. We all knew that was coming. The interchange, like I said, Sandon Smith, Nafua White, Nat Butcher, and Terrell May. Do not get scared off by Terrell May being on the bench. Terrell May, I nearly think, will get more minutes than Spencer Leniu. They have a game plan with Terrell May, a bit like Spencer Leniu had with the Penny Panthers. He seems to come on. I think he'll play huge minutes. He's a damaging ball runner, good offload, late footwork at the line. If you started the year thinking Terrell May, you want to run with him, I still think he gets 45, 50 minutes. I still think that's a world and a possibility where that happens. So I cannot... If your whole preseason you were like, I'm so high on Terrell May, don't let him being number 17 deter you from picking him. He'll still get his minutes that you thought he was going to get, even if he's not starting. Big ones on the bench that have missed out, the reserves, Angus Crichton, Egan Butcher, Connor Watson. Massive news for that. I cannot believe Connor Watson isn't the 14. Smith there on the bench, he's a decent player, but Connor Watson is electric. He scored a try in the trials, came on super energetic. But anyway, Robinson's gone with a different approach. Angus Crichton, you've got an international player, although last year he was a bit underwhelming. Egan Butcher, I don't think he did too much wrong last year. He started off a bit shaky in those games, but again, he's super good player. He's super consistent. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's happened there. They've obviously just got a lot of trust in Sua Wong and Satili Tupanua. So, yeah, that's about it there for the Roosters. For the Broncos, we got Reece Walsh at fullback, Jesse Arthurs and Di Marina. In our wing spots, Katoni Staggs and Selwyn Cobbo. Selwyn Cobbo is a bit of a low-lier, I think. He played really, really well in the trial against the Cowboys, albeit the Cowboys were very understrength in that trial. He looked good, though. He looked at home in that centre position. He worked well with Reece Walsh. Reece Walsh put him through a couple of holes, and then he backed up well. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, what's Kevy doing putting him in the centres?" But I think he's an out-and-out footballer. He'll fly in that centre position. The only thing that I will question him about is maybe his defence the first few opening weeks. Big test coming up him. I think he's up against Joey Manu. From what I've seen, it looked like Selwyn Cobbo was on the left and Joey Manu comes on the right. That'll be a massive game for him. That'll sort of really test him out and see where he is defensively for Selwyn Cobbo. In the halves, Ezra Mam, Adam Reynolds. A lot of people going Ezra Mam for their 5'8" position this year. I like it. The only issue is that he did score a shitload of tries last year. Didn't score 100 in any of those games. He would have scored 100 in the grand final, but again, Ezra Mam, how much more uptick can he have in actual football and try-scoring ability than what he did last year? I'm not sure. In the forwards, Corey Jensen gets the nod at front row. Big news for Corey Jensen. I think he's a little bit awkwardly priced, though, to start with him. They have a huge bench as well. They've got big boys capable of playing good minutes. A couple of young guns coming through there as well. So I'm against picking Corey Jensen, although if he does kill it in the first couple of weeks, gets good minutes under his legs, he could be an option to keep out for. Billy Walters, Payne Haas, we pretty much know what they're about. Brendan Piakura gets that second row spot there. Looked awesome in the trials, albeit he was up against basically a reserve grade Cowboys side. Got awesome footwork, hits a hole like no other. He looks really, really promising. I don't think they're going to lose too much over having him there and Capewell going to the Warriors. The only issue with Brendan Piakura is his output in base. Now, he scored 2 tries. We know he's got this uptick about him. Only thing that worries me is he had a 12 in base for that game against the Cowboys. A little bit concerning, but even last year he played limited minutes. He was still able to get a lot of offloads, a lot of hole running opportunities, especially working with the halves there. The halves are really good at putting them second rowers into space. So again, he's one that I'm keen on, although I'm probably going to leave out purely for the fact that they have a really hard draw at the start and his base is a little bit lacking. Paddy Carrigan at the 13. On the bench, Tyson Smoothie, Fletcher Baker gets an interchange role. Anyone looking to run him, I'm probably against it. He's a bit of an up and down front rower. Not much uptick to his game, so I'm probably going to leave him out. He's 311k, he's well priced, but I can't see the minutes or the impact for that matter that he's gonna have with the Broncos there. Kobe Hetherington, again, he's well priced. I just don't see him getting that game time. A bit of a worry. The 17 for the Broncos is Xavier Willison. There was some clown, I'm not going to mention him, but he came out and reported that Xavier Willison wasn't getting the start. Marty Tapau was in, but that all seems to be all smoke, no fire. I don't care if Xavier Willison gets 20 minutes off the bench. I think at some stage he will go on a run. He'll get a tear where he scores good opportunities in attacking stats, and he'll go on. He'll score tries. He'll bust lines. May not be week 1, 2, or 3, but sometime down the line, I'm happy for him to sit on my bench, and he will eventually, hopefully, score us some good points, and we can upgrade him. On the reserves, Corey Oates, he's been rissoled out the back. There was talk all throughout the preseason that Corey Oates was going to be the starting winger. Marina has come in and swooped on that, so Corey Oates will be a little bit devastated. He signed a new contract up there with the Broncos, but that's the way footy goes. Marty Tapau is the other one. It didn't get a start there. Now, when I talk about Marty Tapau over Xavier Willison, in saying that where there is smoke, there sometimes is fire. One to watch, this being the 3:30 game, have a really good look at the late mail. If there is something about Xavier Willison where they pull him out and put Tapau in, I pray that they don't, because I'm massive on Xavier Willison, but just keep an eye on your late mail with that one. Just because he's not named in the 17 doesn't mean he's not going to play. He could run out there in the 21 jersey, Marty Tapau, so just one to watch. Be careful of it and keep that in the back of your minds. So yeah, there is another guy, the number 22, Jaden Hunt. He also looked really good. I think he was a front row forward, but he was playing on the edge. He's one to watch. Keep an eye on him throughout the year. He could be a bit of a cash cow coming into our teams at some stage of the year if there is injuries. That's about it for the Team List Tuesday. Want to be super transparent with my team this year. I understand I released my team that I had before the teams were announced for Team List Tuesday for these teams, I'm going to let you guys know that I haven't changed anything really. The only thing I have done is Samuel Afainu. I've flicked him. Kane Bradley, I've just moved him up from CTW into second row spot because of the news of Ethan Strange. Ethan Strange, I thought for all money, he had his hand between the guy's legs, driving force. I thought for sure a couple of weeks, and then what happens after a couple of weeks. But he's got away with a fine, so that's huge news for people who are looking to go Ethan Strange. He looks set. I don't know what will happen if they do not pick him at 5'8". His defence was unreal. Heelam Lukey was running at him all day, and he's an absolute masher. Ethan Strange took care of him both shoulders. He ran at his outside shoulder, his inside shoulder. He took care of him. His defence was really, really solid. He played really well. I just hope that he gets the nod over KO Weeks in that 5'8 spot. But yeah, other than that, my team's exactly the same. The concern around Cam Murray, I want to keep a person in around that 630k mark or thereabouts, just so I can drop him down to a mid-ranger if everything starts going well with, a Sua Wong or Satili Tupanua. So I'll keep him. I am worried about his minutes, but again, it's Cam Murray. He has attacking upside as well as awesome output. So we'll just have to see what happens there. But anyway, guys, that's about it. That's all we've got for the Team List Tuesday. Super excited to watch these Vegas games on Sunday. I'll be watching super close on them ones. Again, our league code, if people are looking to join in there in the running for a merch pack for 4020, is 726638. Jump on board. We'll have some fun this year. Take care, legends. Enjoy.